friends, happy Friday. How is everyone doing tonight? I'm not smoking a pipe. We're going to do something a little different, but we'll get to that in a minute. So ignore the fact that I'm not currently smoking a pipe, and welcome. It's good to see you all. Great to see we already got quite a few folks gathered, and let's see who we've got to say hello to so far. There's Tim Fournier checking in from the islands. Good to see you, Tim. Cypress Piper, John's Pipe Journey, Poem, Big Dave, Smoking Said, Lunch Money Philip Squared. Hello, Philip from Werewolf, Pennsylvania. Stanley Smith, Patrick Grant. Good to see you, Patrick. Good to see all of you. I don't know why I picked some people out. Alex Saunders Jr., Jeffrey Feinberg, David Bookshop, Michael Case. Nice and sunny and a Coke Zero. Life is hard. I get it, Michael. Michael, believe me, life is hard. Signal Man Tony from Rhode Island. Good to see you. And there's Bearwolf and Miss Kathy. Hello there, Steve and Kathy. Kathy, great to hear that your surgery went well, and I hope you're feeling good. So, yeah, what's going on? Well, first off, I'm going to smoke a cigar tonight because I am. And I'm in a mood. I'll explain. Kind of a bad day. Piper on the 45. How you doing tonight? And there's Kamikaze ZC. Hello to you, good sir. Before I forget, Cypress Piper. You left a comment on my video on Sunday, and this has happened to me several times now. I just happened to remember that it was you when I saw your name here. I see in the little YouTube studio app that you left me a comment, and I can read like the first few words of it, but I cannot access that comment, and I can't find it on the video. So I don't know what happened, and this happens usually once every video, maybe every other video. Somebody will leave a comment, and I can't find it. I feel bad about that because I like to at least give the little heart and thumbs up to every comment, but anyway, just saying, it happens, and so if you don't hear from me, it's not that I don't like you. It might be because I don't like you, but I don't know. It might not be. Just kidding. I like all of you. So we're going to have a cigar tonight. And we are going to have, this is a Project 40 by Alec Bradley. It is a Maduro, which I don't often smoke. This is part of the Alec Bradley experimental series, and I know absolutely nothing about this except when I stopped in the cigar shop that I usually stop in to grab a cigar to smoke on my way home because I was in a mood. They had a box of these that was almost empty, and I had never seen them before, and that's often a good sign that it might be something worth trying. Yeah, I know that sounds crazy. There's a lot written on this band. It says, Project 40 is the search to find a deeper understanding as to why cigars have a positive... I wish I read this before I started. Project 40 is the search to find a deeper understanding as to why cigars have a positive cognitive impact on the mind and body, similar to music. Cigars have a feel rewarded. That actually says cigars have a feel rewarded. Maybe this is because of the band reps. Why am I trying to read a cigar band? Cigars have an effect that allows us to feel in control as well as feel rewarded. A proper blend, price, and experience has been developed for your enjoyment. Take control of your happiness, Alec Bradley. So, Alec Bradley is going to make me happy tonight. Project 40. The band you have to take off to read. I'm sure I missed a lot of folks coming in during that. Okay, Cypress Piper. I'm glad to know that I didn't. So that's probably what happens. People edit or decide to delete the comment. Okay. Well, I'm glad you did a crossword. Bearwolf and Miss Kathy. Brother is not doing well, and I'm going to talk about that's part of the reason why I'm in such a mood, and I'm having a cigar. So I will tell you about that. Thank you, Big Dave. I hope it's a good tasting cigar too. There's Bona Piper. How you doing, Christian? Smarty Bob, good to see you, Bob. Stony Lawn Cottage Pipe. Big Dave, I said hello to you already. Big Dave, you snuck in twice. There's Couch. Ilva told me why she... Oh, Couch, do tell. Do tell. But for those that don't know, Ilva scared the heck out of us. She ran away last week, right after my show. I hope I didn't have anything to do with the Couch. But she did come back the next day smelling of Vikings and steak. So, oh, and another thing, speaking of Couch, I don't know what we did last week, but we have earned the honor of being permanently rated as not for children. So YouTube now requires that if you're going to watch my live stream, you have to be logged into an adult account, and I have no control over that. YouTube has decided that this live stream is for adults only based on last week's show. And as far as I can recall, the only things we talked about last week were music and maybe some old movies. I don't think we did anything offensive last week. If we did, it was probably Couch's fault. That's why I bring it up there. Let's see. White Ash Piper Squared. Ciao to you, my friend. You know, Tim, if you were here, I would have blamed you. But that was the first thing I thought. I thought, how could this happen? Tim wasn't here. She ran away because I haven't worn the shirt. I was saving it for Columbus, but now that you're not going to be there, maybe I have to wear the shirt. Cypress Piper, as long as you don't tell YouTube, you'll be okay. So I don't usually use fancy cigar cutters, but I do have this one that my wife bought for me. It's a Zikar, and I just didn't want to fuss around with trying to punch this guy, so we're just going to decapitate it nicely. Hopefully this still works. I haven't used this in a long time. Oh, jeez. Might need a little sharpening. There we go. Not too terrible a job. I kind of got a little angle here. One of the reasons I don't like to use these is I always feel like I'm going to cut a part of me off when I close them. They're very yeah. Oh, it's got a nice open drawer to it though. Codger Jim, frequently being called childish. Ah, well, that just means you're a good guy. It just means you're happy, right? Yes, Big Dave, we now have a rating according to you too. Yeah, you're right, Cypress Piper. I don't know if we're mature enough for that. Tomasi's on a hate list now. Hey, wear it as a badge of honor, you know. All right, to light this, I don't have a torch lighter, so I'm going to use my soft flame lighter that my buddy Greg Tunnel Take gave to me, and we'll see if this works. And I apologize to all you folks that tuned in to see me smoking the Matches Memorial Friday Savinelli, but we're going to give it a break this week. The other thing is my wife is away. She's in Pittsburgh, and I don't know if I told you this, but she's instituted a new no cigars in the house policy. It's funny, I used to smoke cigars down here quite a bit. And I was smoking one, I don't know, maybe 2 months ago. And she just kind of went nuts. She was saying, I can't stand that. It's, I can smell it all over the house. I thought, this is odd. I mean, I've smoked the same cigar down here, but she's pretty tolerant of me, so I don't do it. There's Doug Owen. How you doing, Doug? Standard Tobacco is in talks to acquire McBaron. Wow, that is big news, Patrick. Michael, I think the way you sharpen it is you take it to the shop and you say this needs to be sharpened, and they say, okay, we'll send it back to Zikar for you, and you pay almost as much as you paid for it originally, and then they send you a new one and because they feel bad that you spent so much money on it in the first place. Most of the cigar cutters I have, you throw them away and buy a new one. That's how you sharpen them. So I don't know. Yeah, they're stainless steel blades, so I have no idea if they can be sharpened. I'm sorry you missed the pipe, John. I really am, but I just had to do something different tonight. This is true, Doug, and they seem to get in your clothing a lot more than pipe tobacco as well. I learned back. I used to be a fairly heavy cigar smoker. Well, I used to be fairly heavy, but I also smoked a lot of cigars, and I learned that I couldn't own anything wool. Any like wool sweater that I owned would smell horrible and it's not just it wasn't just like it smelled like cigar smoke, but it smelled bad, you know. I didn't even like the smell of it, and you could not get that out. So, yeah. You're right, John. They make a big commitment and they put up with us and any little thing we can do. Yes, Michael, I don't even use cutters half the time. I'll use a pocket knife. One of my favorite cutters is, I don't know if you guys know what an acid brush is. I, of course, don't have one here now. But acid brush is a little metal bodied brush. Big Dave knows what these are. Uh, Black bristles, and it's a hollow aluminum tube. And these things are actually sharp enough that you can use them as punch cutters, and they work really well. It may last 2 hours, White Ash. We'll have to see. I do have a pipe, and uh, we can certainly switch to a pipe if need be. But again, for those guys that tuned in for the pipe, I apologize. Uh, that's interesting, Kamikaze. Yeah, I'm allowed to smoke cigars in my car and my wife's car, interestingly. But I think if I smoked a cigar in her car, she'd kill me. Oh, that wet sheep smell, Doug. Yes, that's I understand that the chicks really dig that. Uh, there we go with that adult language. Um, yeah, but you know, wool is the only material that stays warm when it's wet. Well, that may not be entirely true, but it's unusual in that it maintains, if you're wearing it, it will maintain your body heat when it's wet. Really, Big Dave, it's not quite voluminous clouds of thick white smoke, but it's doing okay. Critics View, good evening. Nice to see you. Tim, you're a lucky man in that regard that you're free to smoke where and when you want. Eric, the blue collar pipe smoker. How you doing, Eric? Good to see you, buddy. Very good to see you. Couch's sweaters from Ireland smell like burley. Good stuff, Couch. And Flint Hill Briar loves wool. I like wool, I just don't wear it because of its tendency to trap the smoke. Cohen sold his entire cigar collection on Cubans last year because people were willing to pay silly money for them. Wow. That's well, you know, think of them as investments, I suppose. Glad you're doing well, Eric. And Michael, I get a royalty every time you wear that. That's a joke that some of you will get. Stanley Smith trying a vest pocket pipe. So I'm delaying talking about something here because I don't want to like bring the whole room down, but at the same time I kind of have to talk about this because it's on my mind and I had a really bad day today. So I apologize. If you tuned in for this for the pipe and you're already disappointed, we're gonna be going. Uh, so my brother's been having difficulties. He was diagnosed with some sort of a mass in his colon. They've done 4 biopsies now, and they have not been able to identify it as cancer. So they don't know what it is, but it's there. It caused some perforation, so he's had a couple of surgeries. He's had a large infection. The goal was to get him stable, to get that infection out of him, and then they were going to do surgery to remove the mass and put him back together again, and then see what happens from there. Well, he passed out the other day and got rushed to the hospital, and they thought he was septic, and it was bad. I don't know if you know anything about lactate, or if any of you guys know about lactate, but it's something they use to sort of measure the degree of septicness. That's a word. And my sister said they say he's septic and the lactate is 14 question mark, because she didn't know what it meant. And I know enough to know that 14 is a high number, and I checked, and sure enough, anything over 4 is considered high risk, extremely high risk for mortality. So yesterday morning, I thought, I'm going to lose my brother. This is not good. By 12 o'clock, they had discovered that one of the surgical drains that he had come out of where it was supposed to be, and it just wasn't draining. So what they thought was a septic infection was actually the infection he had originally had that was just pooling. And they were able to fix that, reattach the drain, and he immediately started talking, and it just made a miraculous recovery, and he wasn't septic. Lactate went back to normal, everything's great. So that's good news yesterday morning. All right, this is good. He's gonna. But they said, we're a little worried about. We want to take another scan and stuff. And then now today they found that the mass has, and I don't know what this means. It's drawn in the small intestine. It hasn't invaded it. It hasn't become metastatic. But it's, quote, drawn in the small intestine. And this is the part that's really hard to swallow and a little hard to say. There's nothing else we can do for him. We want to send him home with palliative care. And I'm thinking, well, they don't even have a diagnosis. They don't even know what this is. And they've just given up on it. And that's not good. I'm not very happy with that. Now, he's at the University of Vermont Medical Center in Burlington. The doctor there I've met, and she seems to be very competent, and I it's not that I in any way am saying that they're not doing their job, but I don't have all the information. I'm not there. I'm getting this filtered through my sister. No, Tim, I don't think the mass has moved. That's the weird part. I don't understand this at all, because they didn't say anything about the mass moving. They just said it is as if it's pulling in the small intestine. I don't know. Oh, Christian, I'm so sorry to hear that about your dad. Oh gosh, and I know you got stuff going on, buddy. So I'm so sorry, my friend. Thank you, Odie. Thank you, and good to see you, my friend. So anyway, we're going to have him. We're talking now. We've got his doctor talking to doctors at Dartmouth, and we're going to have him go to Dartmouth for a second opinion. I was originally going to have him come here and go to where I went for my cancer, and I trust them immensely and would be really happy with that. But the more I thought about it, if it is as dire as they're saying, I don't want to put him through the whole stress of moving here, getting the same diagnosis, and then having to move back up to Vermont. I don't know if you guys remember or not, but he's autistic. He doesn't handle change very well. kind of like his older brother, very set in his ways, and that would be a very disruptive thing for him. The other thing that I'm struggling with here, and again, I apologize, but I got to get this out. I got to talk about it, and I've got nobody. My wife's in Pittsburgh, and even when I talk to her about it, she every time I bring it up, she says, "Well, you got to get up there." That's not going to fix anything. It's not going to. Me driving up to Vermont today would not change anything. It would just scare him. And that's the big problem that I've got right now is that, my brother, in a lot of ways, he's one of the smartest people I know. He's bright, he's funny, he's one of my favorite people. But he's probably got the emotional intelligence of maybe like an 8-year-old. How do you tell somebody like that they're dying? I don't know what to do. I'm really, really not sure how to go about this. So Flint Hill, I don't think they've done a PET scan. It could be adhesions, Michael. I just don't know why they can't just go in and fix that. But oh, Patrick, I'm so sorry to hear about your aunt. That is terrible. It's just terrible. And all you guys that are sending hearts and prayers and everything, thank you. I really do appreciate it. Oh, Tim, that is a hilariously bad joke. Dogs can't read an MRI, but cats can. Oh my goodness. Thank you, Odie. I appreciate that. And Patrick, thank you. Oh, mushroom leg. That is good to hear. It's always good to hear from someone that's got a similar situation. And I think you're right. I think he does understand in a sense. But today he heard the word hospice and he started to cry. He got really upset and he was telling my sister he's not going to die and stuff. So thank you, Christian. That is good advice. That is definitely good advice. Thank you, Couch. Tell Ilva I'm going to wear it anyway. Anyway, thanks for letting me talk about that, guys. Again, it's not a normal day for me. I was a little bit bad today. And I'm embarrassed to say what I'm about to say, but it's true. I left work at noon. All my meetings were done. I said I'm going to go out to lunch, and I went out and got some lunch, and I said, you know what, I'm going home. And I came home and I finished off the Bullet Rye at 3 o'clock today, which is probably not the smartest thing I've ever done, but uh, yeah. So that's why I haven't been drinking yet. Thank you, Steve and Kathy. I do appreciate that. Thank you, guys. I really do appreciate it. And Eric, thank you so much. And Phil, everyone. Oh, Tim, that must have been tough. To have both of them. Yeah. That's one of the great things about being able to talk about things like this on YouTube. And, it's something that I've found over the years. I've said many times that I would do this if one person showed up, or even if no people showed up, because I just find it therapeutic. Having gone through cancer myself and been able to sit here every week and talk about that and know that there are other people that had gone through similar things and could say, yeah, I know, I did that, or I had a parent or a brother or whatever, and it just makes it easier. Um, so thank you, because you're cheaper than a therapist. Tim's got an orange Fago. That might be almost as rare as mushroom leg Zima. Chris Kahn, thanks for tuning in. You're right, Kamikaze. I do need to go see him. That is definitely true. I just don't think today was the time to do that. Um, so we'll sort it. Amen, Kaji Jim. Amen. Thank you, John. Anyway, let's move on to better things because oh, poem, that is a tough tough question to answer. Let me think about that a bit, and if I don't come back to it, remind me. Amen, Patrick. Amen. We try to be there for one another as best we can. You know, I'll just stick with this poem. I think I'm just free associating here, just talking at the top of my head, obviously, but I don't think he ever had a mission in the sense that he was destined to do something great or, impact on the world at large. I think his mission was a much smaller one, which was he brought a lot of joy into the lives of those closest to him. And he definitely succeeded at that. Uh, when we were younger, he brought a lot of frustration into my life as well. And it's been a really interesting experience growing older with him because, I can remember he would just, yeah, he was autistic and he was at the not so good end of the spectrum. So he would do things repetitively. And he would hear something on television that would just click with him and he'd repeat it over and over and over again. And I'd get so frustrated, and I'm maybe in eighth grade or something, and I got this kid that's 5 years younger than me walking around saying the same thing over and over, and it's just driving me nuts. And I would snap at him. Will you shut up? And now we're both in our 50s, and I'll occasionally be talking to him, and that phrase will come up somehow, or so we'll say something that's vaguely like it, and he'll chuckle and say, "Oh, it's like when I used to say," and I said, "Oh yeah, you used to say that a lot," and he said, "Yeah," and then you said, "Will you shut up?" And I realized he remembers that. He remembers every detail of those times that I'm embarrassed of, that I wish he would forget, because I just didn't have the understanding that I have now to know that he wasn't doing it on purpose. But yeah, he so that has taught me a lot about not only children but people in general. What you say sticks with them, even if you forget it, and you never know the importance of what you're saying to another person. Words have meaning, and we should use them with care because we don't know what we're launching out into the world, says the man who's babbling off the top of his head. Thank you, Odie. I'm sorry um, to make you to have that effect, but you're right. You're right. There is a better place. I truly believe that. Captain Earl's Honor Blend in a Savinelli Roma sounds very nice, Tim. Well, I'll tell you what is this thing called? The Alec Bradley Project 40 so far is actually performing quite nicely. It's not a sweet Maduro. It's actually leaning much more to a Nicaraguan sort of feel to me. I'm not getting a lot of Maduro notes out of it, but that's good for me. I'm not really a big Maduro fan, and it's holding an ash very nicely. So yeah. Ain't that the truth, Christian? Fools are full of certainties. It's the people that know what they don't know that are the most intelligent. Oh, bad landlords are never a good thing, Phil. Epictetus, suffering arises from trying to control what is uncontrollable or from neglecting what is within our power. So he was one of the not skeptics, Stoics. There we go. And yes, and that's very reminiscent of the Buddhist teaching, as of suffering comes from attachment. Attachment is essentially trying to control the world that we know we can't control. Patrick Grant is in his backyard. Haunted bookshop, Friday Savinelli and Natty Daddy beer. Can't beat that. Paragon Piper, good to see you. I'm going to knock this ash off before it falls on my shirt. There we go. Good. Cut off pretty nicely. No complaints about this. And by the way, the price point, I don't remember how much it cost, but it was not an expensive cigar. And that's one of the things that the Rambling Band said about it, was that it was not an expensive cigar. So I also made a stop at the Pennsylvania State Store, which is where we folks here in Pennsylvania had to buy our alcohol. That's not true anymore. We can now buy beer and wine in grocery stores, and I even saw a gas station selling beer, which I never thought I'd see in Pennsylvania. I'm kind of not happy that I saw it. And I knew that I was running low on bullets, so I picked up some of this because you folks keep talking about it. So we're gonna try some Four Roses bourbon. This is the small batch. They did have the Select Reserve, whatever it is, but it was like twice the price, and I don't know. I can't really tell the difference between good bourbon and bad bourbon. So I gotta get it open. It's a lot easier to clench a pipe and talk than to clench a cigar and talk, so I'm just not going to try that. Anyway. Missing a lot of interesting stuff here. Suffering does come from painful stuff, Paragon Piper, yes. No question about that. Poem is quoting David Hume, who's one of my favorite guys. Life is a series of experiences. If one is not experiencing something, then one simply isn't. Yes. Hume had the incredible concept that if you take it too far, you could basically convince yourself that nobody exists but you, and you bring the world into existence by your observation. But then people would say, well, but wait a minute, when you're not here, I still exist. And then you have to invoke a higher power that can be the all-seeing observer. Eric's calling me old. Okay, thank you, Eric. And just trying to get caught up here. Mushroom Leg is saying he's honestly trying to do something different with his channel. Failing, he's sure. Well, everybody go and see if he's failing. I want everybody to report back next Friday whether or not Mushroom Leg is failing. I saw you had a video up about packing methods, and I wanted to watch it, but I saw the video as I was just about to stop for the night, so it's on my list, Mushroom Leg. I'm looking forward to it. John's pipe journey is in the process of reenacting. Very cool. Oh, he's at a reenactment. He's not reenacting. He's just backpacking. Okay. I was going to start to tease you about the fact that they didn't have YouTube in the Civil War or something like that. But yeah. That's a good point, Tim. 100% of divorces began with marriage. Yes, Pappy Pack. I saw that. I was I had it on. When you scroll, sometimes you start to get the captions without audio, and it was I saw you talking and I saw Pappy Pack, but I didn't go much beyond that. Big Dave wants to know what the weather's like for everyone today. Here it was not terrible. It was a little cloudy and only got up to be about 80, so can't complain too much about that. That's beautiful, Flint Hill. Unless we can detach from all the heart holds dear, our lives are chiefly ruled by fear. I would bet that that was Teresa. She's responsible for one of my favorite. I mean, I don't know if you'd call it a prayer. I guess it's a prayer. It's also a poem. The grant, O Lord, that none may love thee less this day because of me. It's a beautiful sentiment in that prayer. Uh, but you guys didn't tune in for cigars or prayer, so I better cut that out. Yawith discontinued Kendall Flake? Why would they do that? Do I know which governor signed no fault divorce first? No. Um, I remember there was a time back in probably the 70s where people went to Mexico to get divorced. So I would just making a wild guess here, Tim. I'd say it was Texas or California, just based on proximity. But I don't. Well, John, we have one of the world's foremost authority on bourbons with us this evening, so maybe he can give you some suggestions for a couple of good bourbons to try. WKR Piper, turning it over to you, buddy. So it was California then, Tim. Is that the rule, Phil? They're allowed to marry on the high seas, but it's invalid once you get back into port? Ron Hardcrackers, sunny and 98 in southeastern Oklahoma. Oh, and Phil says it's going to be 104 plus next week. Goodness. That's a good point, Tim. I mean, there's going to be good bourbons at different price points, and you could spend a lot of money on a good one, or you could spend a reasonable amount of money and still get a good one, or a bad one for that matter. And I suppose you could spend a lot of money and get a bad one too. Um, yeah. Ooh, Cypress Piper's cracking out the aged ginger ale, aged diet ginger ale. Very nice. Do you have a special fridge for that, or is it just you just use the standard fridge? Carmelite Mystic. Yeah, we'll do that another night, Flino. Unrecognizable differences? You're irreconcilable, Michael. Unrecognizable? I don't know. Steph and Skip Kane, how you doing? Good to see you. Is it Steph or Steph and Skip tonight? Anyway, it's good to see you both, or one of you. Oh, you got the artisan fridge. Very nice, Cypress Piper. Oh, fine. You've been creeping down up that stair. Thank you, Tim. Thank you, Steph. We need them right now. We need them so much appreciated. Oh, Paragon Piper, you know, I, I can't say I've ever had watered down Grape Crush, but I've done things that are almost as sophisticated as that. That's funny. Irreconcilable. Okay. Unrecognizable would be a very different ruling, Michael. I'm sorry, I don't mean to pick on you, but I just think the wordplay is funny. Oh, you got the Dunhill model. That is cool, Cypress Piper. I bet the fine aged ginger ale tastes much better coming out of a Dunhill Ridge. Her husband read too much. Yeah, that is a bit comical, Lord Hogarth. Tim, you got one mission and you accomplish it very well. Glengarry single from Scotland. Sounds nice. High point of my trip to Scotland, we were at this we were in a town called Crieff at this scientific conference, and it was one of these ones where it's a pretty small group of, I think there were like 60 people there, and they stick you in this remote resort thing that, you know, was built probably in the 1800s. It was built for people to go and use the mineral baths in Crieff, and you can't get anywhere. You know, you're just stuck there, and that was the idea, because they don't want you to. They want you to stay together and be scientific, but we were mostly interested in drinking. So this was long ago. And they had a bar, and it was okay, and we drank a lot of scotch at the bar, and it was very expensive. And we asked the bartender, you know, where would he go if? And he said, oh, there's this scotch bar you can walk to. It's only about a 15-minute walk, and he told us how to get there. And we all set off, and we found this little. Well, first off, there was a really cool little town. But there was this tiny little bar that had many different types of scotch, and the bartender was very knowledgeable. And we spent a long time in there just sampling different things and getting a good understanding of the diversity of flavors that you can find in scotches. It was really educational. It was also a lot of alcohol and probably irresponsible, but we were walking, and we only had to be up at 8 o'clock the next morning to pretend we were smart, so it worked out just fine. This is true, Tim. Happiness is a transitional state. Enlightenment is also a transitional state. I mean, that's the funny thing. We try our whole lives to get to something that you can only get to for a short period of time. And that's why it's so important to not to get all new agey about it, but to focus on what's happening right now. Not to worry too much about where you're going tomorrow, but because right now is all you got. Felt like 108 in Houston. My goodness, Cypress Piper. This is a very large cigar mushroom leg. We may not be doing a pipe tonight. And I apologize to you folks that tune in for pipes, but I think I earned this one today. It was a rough day. I wonder what that's going to mean for our buddy. I'm blanking on his name. Who's the head blender at McBaron? We had him on the show. I feel so bad I cannot remember the man's name. Very nice guy. I hope he gets acquired along with the McBaron name. The Smooth Piper. Hello, Peter. It's good to see you. And Groovin' Piper. Hey, Cody. Great to see you, buddy. How you been? Aim for the bottom so everything else is up. That's an approach, Paragon Piper. No question. Per Jensen, thank you. Thank you, guys. Oh, he left McBaron. Okay. I haven't been keeping up. He's with Sutliff? That doesn't seem like a good match. Wow. I should see if I can get him to come back on and explain that one. The Smooth Piper's got his Friday 7L and he's packing Haunted Bookshop in it right now. First Person Smoker. Hello. Good to see you, buddy. Yeah, I can see the logic in the merger. Um, Cypress is pointing out. I mean, but it's not like McBaron needs more marketing. Yeah, I've heard about some of that stuff, Cody. I just, I've said this many times. When when the YouTube pipe community starts to go through its semi-annual drama cycle, one of the best pieces of advice I got about YouTube was from our dear friend Matches, and he said these things come and they go, and you just got to ride the wave. Just let it go. Because the worst thing you can do is wade into the fray. I'm talking now. His quote was just, "You just got to ride the wave." Uh, you wade into the fray, you become part of it, and just let it go. And honestly, I found out about the recent shenanigans. Well, I think they're the recent shenanigans um, on Instagram from a tobacco company putting out a press release, which really kind of surprised me. Uh, and then I had to track it back, and I got in touch with someone who I won't name, who explained to me what was happening. And I'm sure it's evolved since then, but yeah. The silly season, that's one way to look at it, Ron. Yeah. So I was going to actually do a video this Sunday. Let me use you guys as a test ground. I'm going to take the little mini band off here that just tells me that I'm smoking a, I don't know, experimental blend or something. Whatever it says is not worth putting my glasses back on. Yeah, Lord Hogarth, you don't want to do that. Yeah, Cypress, that's the thing that I found that made me realize something was going on. But other than that, I just don't, I'm sorry, but I don't watch enough of YouTube pipe videos these days. I just don't have the time. And sometimes it feels like a blessing when I hear about things like this. But I do miss the good stuff, and it's still there. I really want to see Mushroom Legs video on packing methods, and a lot of you guys are putting out, just good stuff. Just I'm having a pipe and I'm going for a walk, or I'm sitting on my porch and I tried a new blend, and that's the kind of stuff we all grew up on, if you will, in this community. And it's when we stick to that we're at our best. I, of course, have a big problem where I can't seem to stick to that, but I don't talk about drama. I talk about nonsense that interests me at any given moment. Oh, that's good to know, Cody. So the Carolina Red Flake with Perique from Cornell and Deal is aging well. I've got a couple tins of that stuck away. So, Pipe Tree, how you been, Tree? Good to see you, buddy. Been a while. Yeah, Tim, it can reset your faith in humanity, but if you put on the wrong video, sometimes it can have the opposite effect, and that's unfortunate. Poem, we don't need to know that. The image is not something I'm going to be able to get rid of. And Lurker Troy's just here for Mrs. Howe. Yeah, that's probably why we're adult only now. So I started this series almost a year ago now. And I feel silly calling it a series because it was going to be a 3-part series, and I made exactly one video. And it was titled Advice. It was originally advice to the young pipe smoker, but then I thought, no, it should be advice to the new/young pipe smoker. And the point of it was that I really wanted people to stop over stressing about, am I doing it right? And just enjoy what they were doing. Because there isn't a right way to do it. There really isn't. If you're enjoying smoking your pipe, then you're doing it right. And it doesn't matter if you're smoking Captain Black Cherry, or I meant to say grape and it came out cherry. I don't even know if there's a cherry. Or you're smoking, 20-year-old whatever. It doesn't matter if you're smoking a corncob pipe or you're smoking a Costello or a Dunhill. It doesn't matter. Just, are you enjoying what you're doing? And that was kind of the goal of the whole thing, was to impart a little bit of wisdom about that. It just meant stop worrying, find your own path and enjoy it. That's what's most important. So the first one, I don't even remember what the first one was about, to be honest. I think it might have just been kind of a setup for this. And the last one was going to be this, and this is probably too ambitious of a project, but I'm still going to try to do it someday. I wanted to do everything you need to know about pipe smoking in 5 minutes. And it was not going to be just me talking. It was going to be like clips and words and stuff. And it was going to be, things like taking all these packing methods and realizing that they all mean the same thing, which is leave a little bit of airspace at the bottom. Just don't pack the bottom too tight. If you do that, all the other packing methods that you can learn, that's what they do for you. So, things like that, just trying to get out of all the nonsense what you really, really need to know. Light your pipe and tamp it. The tamping's important. I explain why the tamping is important. Anyway, that was the plan. The second video, which was going to be between the first, which I can't remember, and the last, which I just described, was going to be, don't follow anybody. There is no, you're not going to find a mentor in pipe smoking on YouTube. You're not going to find one in real life either. you might find a guy that says, hey, when you pack your pipe, do it this way. I had that, and I'm really fortunate that I had it. Um, but he wasn't like somebody that every week I would say, hey, I'm having this tobacco, and what do you think of that? And he'd say, oh, why don't you try it? It wasn't, it isn't like that. It's a journey where only you can teach yourself what you need to know. And if you're relying on an external expert, then you're in trouble, because all you can do that, if anybody tells you they can teach you what to do, they're lying to you, because the only person that can teach you is yourself. That was going to be the point of the second video. And I was thinking about doing that this weekend, because some of the stuff that's been popping up now, and I don't know that much about it, but it kind of triggered some of that in me again. But I don't want to way into the fray either. So I might hold off a couple weeks on that. Oh, did you watch it on Creature Features, Michael? I'm saving it for Saturday night. Yes, Ginger looked very good in that movie. I won't do that, Tim. Although someday I'm going to do a video on the new method I developed on eating. I call it the chew method. Creator, you're absolutely right. The focus should be on the enjoyment of the pipe or the cigar. Power Frog 333. How you doing, Robbie? You ran out of tobacco. Oh no. Well, starting over is fun too. Yeah, Phil, that's the point. You can only teach what works for you. You're absolutely right. And maybe it'll work, but maybe it won't. You're right, Brian. There's very few things in life that you can do wrong as long as you get the outcome you want. Patience, patience, patience. Indeed, Paul. Masticate. Okay, Michael. We'll raise it to a higher level. Oh no, Phil, I'm not going the Roman road. No. Oh, Troy, I bet you're having a nice experience there. That cabbie's mixture. And in one of Phil's pipes, I'm sure that's fantastic. And Robbie, that's one of the things you really need to learn when you're starting out, is that you do have to not chase the hobby, but just figure out what it is that you like, and then once you do that, you're on a path. I like that you specified magnetic North Pole. Oh, of course, Tim. I don't misinterpret me. I'm not saying that if you disagree with me, you're right. I'm just saying it's okay to disagree. I'm kidding. Like the French indeed, Michael. This has been a really nice cigar, although I gotta admit it's starting to feel like it's plugged a bit towards the end. For those of you that tuned in late, this is a random cigar shop find on my way home today. And I promise this is not turning into a cigar channel. I just wanted to do something different tonight. but it is an Alec Bradley Project 40 Maduro. And I, for the price, which I think was around $7, and I might be misremembering that, um, for a 660, I just dropped it. We don't want to have a basement floor littered with cigar bands. Uh, for the price and the size of the cigar and everything and the quality, it's not a. I'd recommend giving one a try. Landlady doesn't like Captain Earl. That's not good, Tim. I watched the whole thing, Kamikaze, and we probably shouldn't talk about it because it was quite the event. Cigar is very good, Patrick. I'm really enjoying it. Oh, Phil's taking it even further. He needs a particular wind direction. Phil, for that to all align, I'd never get to smoke. Well said, Paragon. It is a large cigar band. What debate, indeed. Oh, John, thank you so much. I'm glad the pipe mortar's working for you. It's a 60, Patrick. It was a 660. Big Dave wants to know if our country is doomed. Beowulf, Miss Kathy, that is excellent advice. Your grandpa was a wise man. I don't think I've actually tried a retrohale yet, Pone. I'm not opposed to it. I just haven't done it yet. Lord Hogarth, and I do not want to devolve into politics here, guys. I really seriously don't. But honestly, you make a good point there. If Biden had a pipe, it would have given him time. He would have been able to think, maybe. But at least having it in his mouth during those moments when he wasn't talking might have made a difference. That's a good answer, Phil. No country is doomed. We all face challenges. Yep. Indeed. And I heard something today. Um, man, we keep becoming philosophical and religious tonight, and I apologize for that to those of you that don't like that sort of thing. But hey, today is I'm a Catholic, and today is the feast day of Saint Irenaeus, which probably means nothing to all but like maybe four of you, which is fine. But Irenaeus was a very interesting guy who was around during a very tumultuous time in the church when they were there was a lot of trouble with this group called Gnostics who were professing a rather different take on the Gospels, and it was causing a lot of people to be led astray. And Irenaeus was very influential in debating this approach and pointing out the errors in it, and did an excellent job of it, but never took the approach of trying to demolish his opponent, never tried to make them look bad. And he said something along the lines of, there's no when settling a disagreement, there is no room for someone to be victorious. The goal is that both sides come to a different understanding than they started with, and the truth is revealed. And I thought, that's really what we need more of. Rather than the I'm right, you're wrong, and my side's right and your side's wrong, and look, your guy is an idiot or your guy is this or whatever. What's the best thing? What's the right thing to do? And can we get to a point where we both understand that rather than not even compromise on it, but for goodness sakes, we probably all want the best thing. We just need to find a common language to describe what that best thing is, and might make a difference if we think more along those lines when we're arguing with folks. Uh, I'm sorry. I'm now thinking of you guys are commenting on what type of pipe, and I'm thinking of one of those old bubble pipes that I had when I was a kid. The ones that have the four little circles on them, and you can blow lots of bubbles from them. You're right, Michael. You're right. There is still some of that strain, uh, probably revitalizing. But yeah, Phil, that's another big problem is we have a lot of difficulty separating our feelings from our facts, and I think everybody's guilty of that. Uh, sort of, it was brought home to me today because I tend to not get very emotional when something happens to me. I usually get emotional later. And the reason is that I'm a fixer. I try to find solutions to things, which really doesn't work well if you're married. It turns out that's a terrible quality to have as a married man, because women do not want you to fix things. They just want you to listen to them complain about things. Because most of the things my wife complains about, I can fix really easy. 90% of the time it's, well, stop talking to her. She doesn't want to hear that. She wants to tell me about the things that she said. So why am I talking about that? Feelings don't make much of an argument. So when my sister called me today to give me the news about my brother, I immediately go into this, okay, well, we got to get a second opinion, and I'll call the cancer center that I went to, and you get in touch with Dartmouth because she's up in Vermont, and let's talk to the doctor and figure out what, can he travel and all this stuff, and the whole time she's crying, and understandably so. But I was in that mode of I gotta fix this. I gotta figure out what's going on. She also called my wife um, to talk to her because they're both of the same mold where they can cry and sob and say, "Oh, this is awful," and just go in a circle. And and that's what works. So good. And then my wife calls me and she's bawling. She's really upset, and she's I'm getting in the car right now, and you're gonna you go ahead and get up there, and I'll be home in time to take care of the dogs. I'm not, there's no point in me going anywhere. And she's crying. She's sobbing. Like I feel so horrible for her. And I realized this is like a completely different approach to the same problem that there is no way to reconcile. You just can't do that. And what they had done was they had taken the feelings and made them the most important thing, and I was taking the facts and making those the most important thing. And of course, a human thing to do is to be somewhere in the middle. But when you have to take action, when you have to actually do something, you got to choose one of those sides, and only one of them is going to lead to logical conclusion. Bad Company Piper UK with some salty dog. Nice stuff. Sprinkler Ninja. Women do hate a problem solver. A lot of arguments are like car accidents. Ain't that the truth, Phil? Yeah, you wind up getting you let the emotion drive you and you and in an argument sometimes, and then afterwards you're like, ah, yeah, I should have. And I bet there was a lot of that last night too. Yeah, Cyprus, I don't consider myself a stoic, but I've always thought of emotions as warning flags. Like, there's something going on and you need to pay attention to that, but you don't guide your life by it. You look at it and you say, okay, is this dangerous? Is this something I should be afraid of? Because sometimes it is. I think there is a lot of emotional bonding that goes on, poem. Absolutely. Ah, Pipe Tree's got Amphora Kentucky. It's a nice blend. Not a big fan of the dark fired, but that it's nicely done in that blend. Oh, Big Dave, why do you keep asking these questions that you know I don't want to answer? My answer to that one is absolutely not. Not that I'm against it, I just don't see the current crop producing that. Paragon, there's an absolutely hilarious video about that where a woman actually has a nail in her head and she's talking to the guy and you're seeing the guy as the woman's talking and she's talking about how she just feels like he's not understanding how she feels and then it cuts back to him and he says, but you actually have a nail in your head. And the camera switches over and she's got this nail sticking out of her head. Yeah, I love that video. I wish I could find it and show it to you right now because it's really funny. You're right about that, Doug. It is an art form. I was actually on what did we, it was called the forensics team when I was in high school. I have no idea why it was called the forensics team, but we did like speech and debate. We would do different forms of debate. There was Lincoln Douglas debate, and then there was, I forget what the other one was called, and there was dramatic interpretation of literature and all that kind of stuff. It was fun. We'd go to different schools on the weekends and have competitions and stuff, and it was a lot of fun. Who was the last pipe smoking president? I would guess Gerald Ford. Well, actually, Reagan smoked a pipe not while he was president, but he did in his younger days. Uh, so I don't know if that counts. If you want somebody that actually smoked in office, I think it would be Gerald Ford. Ron's got some country doctor match in a Usher's world famous pipes hardwood. Very cool. Ford was a big K-Woody guy. He smoked K-Woodies, Doug. You know, Big Dave, maybe it's your fault that we got that rating last week. Am I wrong about that, Doug? I'm absolutely convinced he smoked K-Woodies. Well, Tim and Big Dave, Bill said that he didn't smoke the cigars; he just chewed on them. Okay, now I absolutely have to just admit that YouTube's right about the rating. So, Jim PM, glad you could pop in. And for a Virginia in a country gentleman Cobb, nice. Okay, so he wasn't, he did smoke K Woodies, but also Kamoy. Okay, he was more diverse than I thought. Thank you, Doug. I always learn something from you, buddy. And I'm going to have trouble finishing this before the end of the show. And part of me is thinking that's okay, we'll just go over and whoever wants to leave can leave. But then I see things like what Big Dave and Flint Hill have been posting. I'm thinking maybe I should shut it down. All right, Cypress Piper, great seeing you tonight. Have a great weekend, my friend. Was FDR a pipe man? I don't know, Pipe Tree. That's a good question. I mean, I know he smoked cigarettes. Patrick saying Edgeworth and half in K Woodies. Faithful to American brands. Might have been political, yeah. Unlike earlier presidents that had their Cuban cigars imported prior to the embargo. Sorry for checking my phone here, but with my brother's situation, I don't like to not check when something comes in, and that was actually from my brother, who has a remarkable ability to always know when celebrities die. And he just informed me very sadly that Martin Mull has passed away at the age of 80. So that is sad. Martin Mull was a unique guy, had a very unique comic style, and sad that he's no longer with us. Well, Big Dave, we're already being censored, so I don't think it can get worse unless they just out and outright take me off. But yeah, they can do that. We'll just all move over to whatever. I was watching FDR smoked pipes according to Phil. Pictures of him young on Oak Island smoking a pipe. That's pretty cool. Justin Timberlake got a DUI. Hey, there's news. And Poem is finished clipping his toenails. Good job, Poem. That took you a long time. Ah, yes, Jim. This is I have to keep picking it up because I keep forgetting. This is an Alec Bradley Project 40 that I picked up quite randomly today, and honestly, I'm enjoying the heck out of it. I highly recommend this. It is a Maduro, but it's much more like a Nicaraguan stick in my impressions. I'm not getting a lot of Maduro sweetness from it. It's got a lot of flavor. Sorry I haven't been talking much about it, but I just haven't been in the mood to analyze it. But it's a good cigar. And I just tried the Retro Hell because somebody asked me earlier, and it's a bit rough. Probably a bit more cedary, oaky, musty on the Retro Hell, but wow. That might just be because I'm pretty close to the end, but that was rough. Oh, Doug, that's a little factoid that I really didn't need, but yeah, I guess I don't know. I don't know. Jim, you might be disappointed in this if you're looking for a Maduro, but it's I really am impressed with the quality of this, and it was inexpensive. I think it was about $7. Ridiculous that that's now inexpensive, but it is. Colleges are not what they were for sure, Tim. Well, let's hope we can turn that around. Because the fact is, I mean, being a scientist, and I'm in on the industrial side of things, but we rely completely on academic science. We just don't have the time or the resource to do the stuff that the academic world does. And then we have to pick up on what they've done and try to make it practical. And it's abysmal right now. I mean, it's if we can replicate 1 out of 10 published studies, that's like a really good average. I believe it, Doug. I believe it. And I don't know if I should go down this road or not, but there's a big fantasy about that. But it's actually really, really disturbing. Uh, do I want to tell this story? Keep in mind that I've had more than just this one glass of whiskey, and maybe this will make YouTube give us our rating for tonight. But I've, I've been in the situation that Doug's describing in terms of being a teacher and having a student try to get a better grade in that way, and it was one of the most awful moments I've ever experienced. It just took this person that I was viewing as someone that was trying to learn but struggling and turned them immediately into this, I don't know, somebody that was I don't even I don't have words for it. It was just such an awful moment. And of course, get out of here. You don't want anything to do with that. But my goodness. I've actually written about this. You guys that pay attention to when I ramble know that I really love statistics, and I'm a mathematically oriented guy in my research. And it there have been some papers that have been really important papers, titled things like "Why Most Scientific Findings Are False," and they've done a really nice job of analyzing the literature and saying, you're doing it wrong. You're not paying attention to what's important when you design your experiments. And I've published some stuff on this as well. Uh, Not as influential, but I do my best. And it's so difficult to, you talk to somebody and you say, well, okay, you're gonna run this experiment and you're gonna have. I don't want to talk about animals and stuff because I don't want YouTube to get mad at me for that too. But let's say you're doing a psychiatry experiment and you're going to test, whether or not uh, square pieces of pizza get eaten more often than triangular pieces of pizza. And so you're going to have 20 college students come in and you're going to give them the choice and see what they choose. Okay, it's a really simple experimental design. Well, the first question I have for you is, how do you know 20 is enough? And nobody knows the answer to that question. There are ways to know it. There are ways to actually do it, but it involves running a pilot experiment, looking at the variability in the response, and then designing your actual experiment. Nobody wants to do that because it's an extra step. And unless people start doing that, they're going to continue to be publishing. They're going to continue to publish things that are wrong, because when you don't do that, you increase your likelihood of finding a result. Yeah, Phil, it's pretty weird that came up, but political jazz hands master. Good for you, Jim. It's. I mean, that's really the point of it. It's uh again, I just don't have the words to describe how it was not just demeaning to that student, but it was demeaning to me as somebody that valued the information that I was trying to give them, and that understood that if they just put the effort in, they would have been able to master this. And yet they would rather do that just to get a letter at the end of the year, or a number, whatever we were doing those days. Just, yeah, it's disgusting. There's manipulation going on as well, Flint Hill. Yeah. I like to think that that's a minority of it, but nerd alert indeed, Brian. Oh, you're right, Jim. The variables are, yeah, control, and coming up with proper controls is really, it's difficult. It's an art form. Yeah, Doug, there's a lot of that going on as well. Dr. David Buss. Tim, that name sounds familiar, but I'm not sure I know who David Buss is. You could remind me. It sounds very familiar. Ponderance of a Gravedigger. How you doing? Paragon. He breaks the curve. Yeah. Wednesday is square pizza day, says Luke Troy. Friday used to be square pizza day when I was in school. And on Fridays, again, with it being a Catholic school, we didn't have any meat on Fridays, so we would have these. I don't know if you guys know what Elio's pizza is. It's a frozen pizza, and it wasn't Elio's, but it was basically the same thing. It was these rectangular pieces of pizza, and I think they might have had fish sticks. I don't remember, but nobody ate the fish sticks. We everybody ate the pizza. See, I always thought deep dish was round, Phil, so it'd be cut into triangles, whereas the square ones were Sicilian. Ponderance, this is an Alec Bradley Project 40 cigar. Highly recommended. You know, Phil, I like fish sticks. I would have been with you there. I didn't eat it. I always packed my lunch. Well, I didn't pack my lunch. My mother packed my lunch. Uh, we weren't terribly well off, so the idea that I would have money to buy lunch at school was it just didn't happen. Mackerel snatcher. There you go, Doug. Ah, okay, okay, Tim. Yes, yes. I remember now. Absolutely, Beowulf and Miss Kathy. You guys have a great night and a great weekend, and we will continue to keep you folks in our prayers. I'm so glad that Kathy's doing as well as she is. I've never had their Wiener Schnitzel chili dog, Phil, but I gotta say, if I don't eat at McDonald's, I haven't had any fast food in a very long time. But the one thing that would possibly tempt me back, oddly enough, is the McDonald's filet of fish. I just, for some reason, have always had a soft spot for that. It's a terrible sandwich. It doesn't taste anything like fish, and I don't know how they can call those buns red, but there's something about the flavor of that that I really liked. Yeah, Paragon, that works too. Oh, I had one of those moms, Doug. Making reservations for dinner is always a good thing. Now I'm in the same camp as I saw an interview with William F. Buckley once, and William F. Buckley was Catholic, and he was being interviewed, and the interviewer asked him, so are you like, the whole fish on Friday type thing? And just for the record, we only do that during Lent unless we want to do it other times of the year. So uh, it's not a requirement except during Lent. And William F. Buckley said, yes, I always eat fish on Friday. And the interviewer said, well, you must only do it during Lent. You wouldn't do it all year long. And he said, no, you don't understand. For me, I'm so used to it. To not have fish would be mortification of the soul. And he laughed and I laughed and the interviewer looked confused. But it's funny because we're supposed to be giving some, we're supposed to be making a sacrifice in that. But the truth is, most of us have gotten so used to it and enjoy it that to the point where, you know, if we didn't do it, it would be harder. Oh, the tartar sauce. You want to hear my very naughty tartar sauce story? I don't know if I ever told you this, but I worked at McDonald's for a long time. Um, I started working, I believe I was 14, and we lied about my age, me and my grandfather, in order to get me a job at McDonald's. And when it was a summer job, and I worked every summer at McDonald's, and then when I got old enough, because I couldn't convince this was in Wildwood, New Jersey. And then when I got old enough, I was able to get a job during the school year at the McDonald's in Philadelphia. So I actually would work uh, during the school year at McDonald's in Philadelphia, and then in the summertime at the McDonald's in New Jersey. And I did this for many years, and I actually became a manager and used to be the closing manager when I was in college at a McDonald's. And yeah, so I know a lot about them, and I know a lot about their food and all that, and I still don't want to eat it. But you got to tell the tartar sauce story. So I have no idea how they do it now because everything's changed. But back then there would be these stainless steel tables, and they had holes in them that would hold these containers, and you'd have like a container, stainless steel container that you'd fill with pickles. Another one was filled with shredded lettuce and so on. And so the buns would come out of a toaster and go on this table, and then you'd go and you'd take all the toppings, the right toppings, to put them on the buns, and there were would look like large caulking guns. And there would be one for the Big Mac sauce. There would be slightly different things that put on ketchup and mustard, and then there was one for tartar sauce. And they would shoot out, you'd squeeze the thing and it would shoot out the appropriate amount of tartar sauce with quite a bit of force. But you were putting it down onto the bun, and you just kind of go along and do this. And we'd do like a dozen at a time. And this became over the years very automatic. So I could do this. I could have the meat on the grill and be toasting the buns and then pull them out without even thinking. I could be talking to someone. I could put all the stuff on and squirt the sauce on and all that. And it was a pretty high volume store in Wildwood where because we'd have like tour buses and stuff come in, and so it was just constant cooking, and you had to just do this completely automatically, and you'd run out of sauce, and you'd like pull the thing back and you'd pop the the tube out, and it would fall into the trash can because you just knew how to hit it so that it would go over there. And as that was happening, you'd be picking up another tube and slamming it into the thing. You'd pop the thing back and it'd be ready to go. And as I was doing this, there was this girl who was probably flirting, although I doubt very much that she was serious about the flirting, uh, as she was walking by. And I had a running thing going on with her every time she'd walk by because she worked up at the counter. She'd say something to me, I'd say something to her. And, at the time, the uniforms were these button-down shirts that, anyway, she didn't have her buttons all the way up. And she said something, and I was just in a mood, and I held the thing up and I shot it. And I did not realize how much force would come out of this thing. And it wound up, yeah. So that was bad. I got in a lot of trouble for that. Yeah, Phil, it was great because you'd like throw the meat on the grill, you'd hit the timer, and you'd get everything, and just as you got the last thing done, the timer would go off and it'd be time to flip, and it was kind of cool. You get into the zone and just yeah, it it was fun. Oh, cleaning the deep fryer was an experience, and how seldom they were cleaned was also an experience. We tended to top them off a lot more than clean them. And I don't know which one you worked in, Phil, but you couldn't degrease the floor. There wasn't enough degreaser in the world to get all the grease out of that floor. And one thing I learned working there was that there are a lot of really cruel people in the world that become McDonald managers. Uh, I wasn't one of them, but there were these people that just seemed to take great joy in making these kids' lives miserable. And these kids are working. Okay, they're not necessarily doing top-notch work, but it's a McDonald's for goodness sakes, and they're just trying to make a little bit of money. Paragon Piper, thank you. You have a great weekend too, buddy. Thanks for joining us tonight. And, they're just trying to make a little bit of money. They're just trying to get by. And these managers would just be complete jerks and would make their lives miserable. And I always hated that. And I've always had this fantasy of, when I retire, I'm going to go like get a job at a McDonald's and just like walk up to the guy with the tartar sauce gun and hit him right in the face in front of the whole crew. Tim, you had a horrible experience. I'm so sorry. Yeah, Doug, it wasn't flirting. It was just stupid. One of the most horribly entertaining moments in my history there was we, they ran an exchange program at the one in New Jersey where every year there would be a group of students. I think they were actually college age students. They might have been like high school seniors that were just going into college, like that age, and they would spend the summer and work at the McDonald's. And it was fun because I got to, like, one year it was French people and I got to meet them. And actually the only time I smoked a cigarette was with a French girl named Natalie. That's a story. Another time it was a group of Irish people, and I got a really funny story about cleaning out the walk-in refrigerator with them. Uh, I'll tell the story. You, I don't know if everyone is like this, but if I hang around with people that have an accent, I just start to tend to pick it up. It's not intentional, but I think if you just hear other people talking, you start to mimic them. And I was in this walk-in refrigerator that was turned off, and we had basically unloaded everything, and it was stainless steel, and we were scouring and stainless steel polishing all of the walls. So we were in there for a couple of hours, and it's just me and a group of Irish guys, and we're talking, and we're just talking, and one of the Irish guys that, after like an hour and a half into this, one of the Irish guys turns to me and says, "Mike, you wouldn't be making fun of us now, would you?" I had no idea what he meant. Uh, so that was that story. But I think it was one of the Irish guys was putting hash browns into the fryer, and hash browns were put in this little cage, and you had to latch the top on it. And if you didn't latch the top, when you put them into the fryer, they all came up because they were frozen, and they would just all float out of the thing and all that. And the guy, just not thinking, you see this happening, you panic. He reached in and grabbed one of the hash browns, and it was terrible. He was screaming. Uh, you don't want to do that. Sorry, I just beeped again, so I want to make sure I'm not in trouble here. No, it's just my brother being persistent. He likes to make sure that. So he's got this thing when a celebrity dies, he immediately tells me about it, and I say, "Oh gosh, that's sad." And I don't say, "Remember he was in this thing or something." If I find out first and send him a text message about it, he completely ignores it. He gets mad at me for knowing about it first. Yeah, that's one thing that I would never miss about it. Flint Hill was the grease. Uh, see, Chris Kahn had that experience too, and Phil mentioned it. It just would get on everything. It was in that uniform. You couldn't get it out. Um, I We had to have shoes that went with the uniform. Typically, I think they're called boat shoes, and it was like a brown leather shoe, and it would just get saturated with it. Oh, it was disgusting. Ah, so you've had the mimic experience too, Phil. Yeah. I don't know if there was any Jamesons involved, Jim. It was certainly an odd thing to do, but my goodness, it was terrible. Greece is the way we are feeling, Tim. Right? Yeah, thank you. But the worst part about it was every once in a while we would do a thorough clean after we closed the store, and you'd do everything you could to try to get that damn floor clean, and you were never getting that grease out of that floor. It just would not come out. It was permanently in the tiles. Uh, yeah, but made a lot of money. Not me. The stores made a lot of money. Yeah, it was the '80s, Jim. Yeah. Still enjoy a Whopper occasionally, Chris. If I had to eat a fast food hamburger, I probably would go with a Whopper. That's the one that tasted most like meat to me. All right, Phil, go and enjoy your landlord. Thanks for joining us tonight, Phil. It's good seeing you, and have a good weekend, buddy. And we are going to wrap up soon. I don't think I can get much more out of this. I could stick it in my pipe, and I forget who it was that was having it with the watered down grape crush. I could do that, but I'm probably not going. Oh God, the onion rings. Ron, that must have been something. Oh yeah, they had mopping techniques, Jim. I mean, there was this big rack of videos that we'd have to watch for training on everything. Like everything had a method to it. How you mopped, how you swept the lobby, how you wiped off the tables in the lobby, and of course how you cooked the food. All very precise because it was franchised. Everything had to be the same. I haven't had a Jack in the Box in a very long time, Tim. I think when I was a kid we had some of them in Philadelphia, but they're gone now. Patrick's telling me to go for it. You want me to put the you want me to put the nub in the pipe, Patrick? You know what? If we go for another like 12 minutes, we'll round out the hour. So why not? And I think we'll then have the record for the longest live stream I've ever done. No, that's not true. The matches wake live stream was like 4 hours long. That was special. It's hard to do this without burning yourself. There we go. And this will ghost the pipe actually, which is kind of interesting. Indeed, Michael. That's exactly the way it was. The right way, the wrong way, the McDonald's way. Yeah, Phil, I saw an ad recently from I think it was the '70s, a McDonald's that the hamburgers were like 35 cents. Unbelievable. Chicken City. Don't know that one, Ponderance. Creator, you're not missing anything with the Olive Garden. Jim, I've never been to a burger chef, but my father-in-law apparently really liked those and would drive the family quite a distance to go to a burger chef. I've never been to the one. They don't seem to have them around the Pittsburgh area anymore. Okay, so Hardee's probably changed them all to Hardee's then. Early Whoppers were as big as salad plates. Wow. Well, I remember the "It takes two hands to handle a Whopper" was their tagline. Oh yes, creator. That will be. You just outdid Tim, in the earwig department because the Big Mac song will be playing all the rest of the night for me. You're right, Patrick. And you can mess with a lot of foods, but you shouldn't mess with Italian food because bad Italian food just isn't food. Oh, really, Ponderance? Yeah, I think we all miss them. We all miss them quite a bit. Minuteman burgers. Another one I've never heard of, Ron. White Castle sliders, says Pipe Tree. Oh God. I don't even know if those things are made with edible substances. But they definitely go down easy. Oh, okay, Piper on the 45. I hope the wife is feeling better soon. Thanks for joining us. You have a great weekend. I've always found it interesting, Phil, when I've been to Italy, and I've been there a few times, you have like these little Italian restaurants that are, little hole in the wall places, and the food is fantastic. And the only other thing that you find are Chinese restaurants. I just always thought that was kind of odd. I have heard people say good things about the soups at Olive Garden, Tim. And salad, I mean, I would like to say it's hard to screw up a salad, but it's not. You miss my fly tying videos, Ponderance? Well, thank you for saying that. I was actually thinking of doing some fly tying this week before things went south with my brother. I probably still should, but I don't know. It's so I've got a trip planned. In my plan is the week before the Columbus show, I'm gonna go fishing in Central PA, and I want to tie some flies for that. Problem is I never got the video set up right for the fly tying videos. So I want to get that worked out so that they look good. I just didn't feel like the video quality was up to par with those. I used to have this cheap camera. I don't remember what it was, um, but I'd use it to take pictures of flies, and it had a macro setting on it. And it was a little what do they call them? Point and shoot DSLR, something like that. I don't know. I don't know cameras. And I've got much better cameras now, but none of them have the macro setting on. It's a struggle to get the hands behind their back for sure, Phil. Doug, sorry. Um, if you play the right music, though, they tend to calm down enough. Also, it depends on the fly. It's a lot easier with the horse flies than with the fruit flies. I see Michael and Chris talking about In-N-Out burgers. I only had them once when I was in California, and I was really disappointed with their French fries. My wife liked them, but I didn't like the French fries. Oh, Ponderance, that's fantastic. I'm so glad that inspired you to tie. I've never tasted them, Creator. I just think that the horse are easier to tie because they're bigger. No, Tim, let's not get started on that, especially given their size. I think I've smoked about as much as that as a person can smoke, so. It's too hot to take out to show you, but it's barely shoved in the pipe, so yeah. I got my money's worth out of Alec Bradley tonight. Uh, well, thanks for indulging me in something a little different tonight. I appreciate it. Time flies like a bird, fruit flies like bananas. Yep, they sure do. It's been another night of really entertaining conversation. Yes, I'm a quitter, Tim. I know. If I had the moxie, I would have pushed that down in the pipe and broken up the tobacco and finished it. But oh, that's interesting, Ron. I bet that did have some cool effects when the light warped around those bubbles. Yeah, Creator, I don't know that mosquitoes per se are used in fly fishing, but there are a lot of midges, and there's a one of the videos I did, I believe, was on the trico, which is smaller than a mosquito. So yeah. Anyway, folks, I'm going to call this to a close as I finish up my four roses. We'll do that in two sips. Thank you for joining me tonight and for sticking around for the extra time and for listening to me ramble about things that really helped me to ramble about. So thank you for that. Please remember to keep my brother in your prayers. Remember to keep everyone in your prayers, Steve and Kathy in particular, but lots of other folks. Keep the whole community in your prayers because there's stuff going on right now that we'd rather not have go on, and let's just pray that that all settles down. And if you're not the praying type, think kindly. I did make Rod's Ponderance, but we'll talk about that another night. So with that, folks, I will bring this to a close. Thank you again. I will very likely be back on Sunday. I should say that things are going to be dicey again because I don't know what's going on with my brother, so we'll play it by ear. But you'll see the alert for this, and if you don't see it, I'll catch you the next week. But take care, all. Have a great weekend, and we'll talk again very soon. Bye now.